Hello and welcome to By the Fire with Dave Rudd. I'm Dave Rudd and that's The Fire. But more importantly is our guest today who's with us, James Brown.
Hi Dave.
Hello, how you doing?
Very good.
Right?
Yeah,
I think
excellent.
You're going to lean over for a kiss then.
I was, but then I thought, no, best not.
We're sort of
it's
like
nearly
stuck
Valentine's
to our
Day.
seats,
I thought
aren't we?
maybe, yeah.
How are you? You okay?
Very good, yeah.
Did you get here all right?
I did, yeah.
Are you warm enough?
I'm really warm, thanks.
Do you like my fire?
I love your fire. It's really nice. Luxury to have a fire in London.
I know, God, it is. That's why I sort of,
I might
got this
poke
thing
it
doing
later.
There's a prodder there.
Yeah, I know, I saw.
I feel like we can't reach or anything there. So, the reason I've got you here today, which I'm very grateful of, by the way, is literally just to talk about you and how great you are. Starting with something
I love talking about me.
I know. Me too, but this isn't about me. So, let's start with something that you're really passionate about, and I believe that is like horses and nature, am I right?
Totally.
So, expand.
People are always surprised by that. I don't know why people are so surprised by that, but I've ridden all my life, and even when I lived in New York, but I had a farm upstate New York, and I took my horses from Ireland to New York. So for me, I have to ride. It's part of... I think when you're dealing with like the high demands of celebrities and, you know, all that goes with that, I need an antidote. And for me, that's horses, nature, mucking out, riding. I'm very quiet when I'm on a horse. Like, I don't speak. I love being on my own.
It's quite exhilarating.
Yeah,
I've done it
is.
before.
And you have to be quite crazy to kind of jump on horses. It's considered an extreme sport.
So is that like your release?
That's my release, totally.
I like that. Am I also right in saying that it was horses that got you into hairdressing?
Kind of, yeah. I wanted to be a jockey, and I was sort of this age when I was tall when I was 12, so they thought I'd kind of fill out.
Yeah.
Because I had a brother who was obsessed with football, another brother who was a boxer.
Yeah.
So they thought I'd be a bit more manly, I think, but that didn't quite happen.
What happened?
There used to be like football boots, boxing gloves, ice skating bag. I was like a figure skater, and my routine was I will survive. So early signs that I probably wouldn't be a boxer. But anyway, yeah, so I wanted to be a jockey.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't going to happen. I don't think when you're from Croydon, people just say no, don't they, when you're young? The same as they said about hairdressing, no. Like, I went to an all-boys Christian brothers school, and the brothers used to go mental, and age 12, I'd say, I want to be a hairdresser. They used to go mental at me and give me such a hard time. And quite often even they'd make me come in at the weekends and they'd lock me in a classroom and bring army careers officers in. And
no.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. They were like so angry that I wanted to be a hairdresser. Yeah. So I used to go in with my riding gear on and just go and sit there for the weekend, yeah. But anyway, so I loved horses, and then when I thought that wasn't going to happen, I had my older sister was called Nolene, and she was very glamorous. You know, it was the early 80s, and but she used to go to the salon every Saturday, have her hair blow dried.
Yeah.
And then a couple of times I went with her when I was about 11, and then she used to come home from the salon and then re-wash it and do it herself. And I'd be like, why are you doing that? So then I was in her bedroom one day and I said, why do you redo it when you come home? Why do you go to the salon? She said, oh, well, that's what girls do, but I just don't like how they do it. And I said, well, I'll do it for you. I know what you want. So that's how
that was it.
I started hairdressing from my older glamorous sister.
That's so good, because you mentioned Croydon earlier, and obviously you know, as from the calling cards, the questions cards, that South London seems to be the place of creativity, where these people come from, which is where Bowie came from. And am I right in saying that you worked with him?
I did. I worked with him, yeah, I did. And I know his wife, Marlon. It's funny when you meet idols, but they are so disarming. Like, I completely forgot within 1 second of eye contact that it was him, and we went into this like South Croydon, like Croydon kind of banter. It was so disarming, and so it's now that I think, my God, what an experience.
That's normally the case, isn't it? It's like what you're doing, and then, you know, years ahead, and you look back and you'll be like, bloody hell, that was actually something.
He was amazing, and he was so just so lovely. But you knew you had there was an air of like, he almost wanted to bow and curtsy. You got a bit nervous, but he was not like that at all. He's an incredible man.
Wow. And getting back to
his energy.
Yeah.
Sorry, his energy was phenomenal.
A lot of people say that about him because it was obviously like the energy he was giving off. It was then he was just getting so much in return.
Like when a camera came out, it was like you saw this energy come out. It was, I've got goosebumps now talking about it. It was just incredible, incredible. Like, super nice.
So getting back to your hairdressing, when was it for you that you said, right, that's it, I'm going to be a session worker? And what route did you take to be like, right, I'm going to do this?
It was all kind of by accident, really.
Okay.
Which is quite funny. I was working in a salon in Covent Garden.
Nice.
And my friend Kate, who's from Croydon, she was bunkered off school. I was training to be a hairdresser, but I had no clients yet, so I was just washing hair. And she was bunkered off school, so she used to come to Covent Garden and hang out in the staff room. So and then I would get like some tips, and we'd go and sit outside Bar Italia with one cappuccino. We'd share this cappuccino between us, sit there for hours. And then she became quite famous for modelling, and she took off. And then I just used to do her hair and all my girlfriend's hair all the time. And then this photographer called Corinne Day said, "Oh, I love how you do your friend's hair. Will you do a shoot with me?" And I wasn't really interested because it was the 80s. I was going out raving, and I just wanted to work in the salon and go out at night like all young kids. And then one day, by accident, I did a shoot. Literally by accident, I was in a flat. And the model came in, and because I always thought that fashion was girls with big boobs and big hair and loads of lipstick. And that's not my look. I like rock and roll girls and cool. And then when I saw the model in the flat, she had tight jeans on and a grungy T-shirt, and the photographer just said, "Do what you do with your girlfriends when you go out."
Am I right in saying this is the rock and roll Bardot?
Rock and roll Bardot. So that's just what I did. Like, it was just what I did on my girlfriends, and that I had it all wrong what fashion was, but I didn't realise it was a whole movement called grunge at the time.
Okay.
I was just anti women looking like prostitutes, as I called it. Prostitute look, like big hair, loads of, their boobs out, and loads of makeup.
Like Glamour.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
So basically, it was from that I did that shoot, and then I got interested in it, and then I did a story, got the cover of The Face, which at the time was an amazing magazine. Rosemary Ferguson was the model. She was 17.
Yeah.
And then my next job I ever did was the cover of Vogue.
Oh, of course.
So
big
at 22, I think I'm the youngest hairdresser in the world. Still, that had that cover, which was now I like. Oh my god, I can't believe
that.
Yeah,
I did lots of research, and I was supposed to say
that.
Yeah,
it's mad. It's mad.
You're the youngest hairdresser to ever get a
cover of Vogue.
Yeah,
yeah, and it was Kate Moss's first cover of Vogue as well. So we both had our first covers together.
You were like this team, kind of like going forwards, with this grunge movement, obviously.
But we were just kids having fun and going to work. No, we were just, I
think that's like the lovely thing about it. Yeah.
So organic.
So how
long...
We
weren't clued up. Like, kids now have everything. They're so clued up now. We were just having fun.
Just kicking it.
End of.
Yeah.
It was...
So how long were you actually a salon worker for?
I worked in a salon. That's a long story. I didn't go to school for 6 months. And the Christian Brothers eventually said, "Where's that James Brown?" And what happened was I used to get on the bus from my house and I'd change in the toilet and put on clothes. And I said to the salon that I was 18, but I wasn't. I was 15.
No.
So I just used to go because I so desperately wanted to be a hairdresser.
Wow.
So I just went to work every day and washed hair and just pretended I was 18. I don't know how, because I looked about 9. And then after about 5 months, they said, "James, you have to come back to school." And I said, "I don't want to go to school. I want to be a hairdresser. I don't need to go to school." So then what I used to do is I used to just go for about an hour a day in my riding gear or just straight from the salon. And then a day after I was legally allowed to leave school, the next day I started full time. So that was...
Wow.
So 16 to 22, I worked in a salon.
Wow. And...
Till my first Vogue cover, I worked in a salon.
I mean, it might be, like an obvious question to answer, but I mean, what is the difference between both worlds, being, working in a salon and a session worker?
It's funny, for me, it's really funny. The difference between salon and celebrities is I'm much more nervous to do real people.
Right.
It's so weird because I would walk in, I'll do Dakota or Anne Hathaway or Liv Tyler or any of my girls or anybody. and I won't. It was like easy peasy.
Yeah.
I just understand that, but I find it. I'm really nervous, and I hate doing real people. It makes me nervous. I don't know why. I have much more expectation put on me by doing. Like, I had to cut my sister's hair recently in my mum's kitchen, and I was literally shaking. I was so nervous.
It's weird because we were talking about it earlier, weren't we? It was like, you know someone, but then when you go to do something professionally on them,
and it was
you're
my
like,
sister,
you get nervous.
and my whole family were watching. And I think they were like my mum and dad. It was Christmas. My mum and dad were watching. My auntie was watching. And I think they were all expecting sort of sparks and fireworks and like
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh,
let's
God,
do this.
The pressure was, it was. I can cope with celebrity, but I can't cope with real people.
Talking about celebrity, what was your first celebrity cut? Do you remember?
God, I can't remember. When I was still training, I did Helena Bonham Carter, but I was only 17, and she came into the salon.
So wait a minute, you cut Helena Bonham Carter's hair at the age of 17?
Yeah, in the salon.
That's quite a statement.
Yeah,
in itself.
but it was. I can't really remember it so long ago. But she came in and I did her hair, and then. But where I worked, there lots of famous people used to come in, but I just wasn't interested in. So I didn't ever. I sort of did the hair, but I didn't. I very quickly moved on to doing people's hair.
I think that's like a lovely thing about you, which is what I'm gathering, is that, you kind of, things didn't really faze you. So you were just sort of going with the flow, and it's now, like we say, when you look back, you realise, wow, that's actually quite something. Have you got any funny anecdotes with any celebrity
I just got
cuts?
so many things, like, after that after that first Vogue cover, I was still in the salon, and I didn't even know that about magazines, really. I had no clue. I just loved doing hair.
Yeah.
And the bookings editor at the time from Vogue was called Joe Barker, I think, or Joe, I can't remember her name, but she used to call the salon, and the receptionist used to say, "James, it's Vogue on the phone." I used to go, "No, I don't tell them," because I love. Yeah, I know. Now I've been like trying to call them, but
that's incredible.
And then one day I went to the phone. And I said, "Hi, no, I don't." And she said, "James, listen before you say no." She said, "It's a trip," and I didn't even know what that meant. It's a trip, and I said, she explained it. She said it was in Thailand for 2 weeks. I was like, and then I was like, "Okay, yeah, great." I didn't even have a passport.
Off we go.
Then that was it. After being on that trip, and it's for Vogue, and you fly, very sport, very young. You fly first class, and it was those days you used to have 2 weeks to do one story. So you had 2 weeks to do 8 pictures. That's it. So you used to have a week off to sunbathe, and then you'd do a few pictures.
That's luxury.
Yeah, it was. When I started, that's what it was like. Now you do 20 pages in a day, but then you did 8 pages in 2 weeks.
So it's changed quite a lot then.
Beyond.
That's crazy.
But another funny story about me being so, not unfazed, but just uneducated, really, in the hierarchy of Vogue. Like, I went to American Vogue, and I just went to McDonald's because I was hungry, and I was walking around the American Vogue office, and I had my feet up on the desk, and Anna Wintour just walked past, and I was like waving, and I'd never seen her before. I was so excited. I was like, "Hello!" Like, waving at Anna Wintour.
Brilliant. Have you seen what's just happened?
Oh, your fire's gone out.
I know, my fire's gone out. So you talk about, obviously, the difference, what it was like back then to how it is now. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you as well. So way back when there was no such thing as smartphones or Instagram or social media and stuff like that, would you say for upcoming hairstylists now that it was easier for them to break through because of, the exposure that they get, or a lot more difficult because of variety?
It's way easier now for people, which is great. When I started, it was still very elitist almost. It was, there were probably, I was the first new person in over 10 years. It was about 8 or 9 hairdressers in the world that went just around the world, all did the same thing.
So you were part of the elite.
So I broke through after, I was the first new one in literally 10 years.
Yeah.
But now, because of social media, people could do their own shoots in this room, make it look really beautiful, and they can get it to millions of people. They can hashtag somebody, and loads of people can instantly see it. And I see all the time amazingly talented hairdressers, like way better than me, really talented, that are and I follow them or I find out their work, and there's so many good people out there at the moment, and so I'm glad that it's easier, because it was so elitist before, and I'm really glad that it's open now to. There's a lot of crap as well, but there are a few really good people.
It's nice that you've kept up with the times. Obviously, I see you on Instagram, but we'll come to that later, the recent styling that you've done. But what I want to get onto now is obviously what a lot of people know you for, which is the James Brown products. It's quite funny. I was in the toilet the other day, and when I told my girlfriend that you were coming over, she was a bit like, as in James Brown, the moose that we have in the toilet. I was like, yeah, that man. She was like, a bit more excited than me. But in regards to James Brown products, what was the vision that you had when you first created that? Because obviously, when some people go into it, it could, completely flop. But yours is so successful. Obviously, it was the fastest selling in boots in 2009. But what was your vision when you first started that out?
What it was I was creative director for 6 years of Procter & Gamble, which is like the biggest, beauty brand in the world. And I had a very good training ground, and they were amazing to work with. And then I was also style director of GHD, so I launched the irons. And so at the simultaneously, I was both.
Okay.
Which was an amazing experience. But then I thought, why don't I do my own? I could see it coming and what was happening, and I thought, I'm just going to do my own brand. And so when my contract came up for renewal, I said, no, thank you. And I just decided to do, they couldn't believe that, but I was just like, I'm just going to do my own brand. Wow. And it just, again, happened all organic. Everything in my life happens, it happens organically. I went from, it's a funny story, a friend of mine was an agent provocateur, Serena, was opening a shop in Manchester. I'd never been to Manchester in my life. I happened to be over from New York. She said, come to the opening. And when I walked into the shop in Manchester, there were a load of people there from Coronation Street, the actresses.
Oh, of course,
and they went, you're James Brown, you're the guy off the advert. And they did my advert from the Clairol.
No way.
And because I had an advert years ago. And I couldn't believe that they knew who I was. I was completely floored.
Quite flattering,
but that same night, a person was there that saw that happen, and they came up to me afterwards and said, why don't you do your own brand? And I said, that's funny you should say that. They said, well, let's do it. So then they came from a production background. So from me going to Manchester, which I'd never been to, I ended up then
all folding in,
all working out at the right time, and then starting my brand.
That's incredible. In regards to hairstyling and fashion, what would you say the link is? How would you describe the link? Like if you have a style icon, for example.
What do you mean? Like what the link between?
Obviously, with hair, there's like a huge link to fashion, and in regards to that link, is there anyone that you would have a style icon to say like they get it absolutely perfect?
Okay, gets it totally. Jane Birkin, Marianne Faithfull, Anita Pallenberg, all those rock and roll girls are my idols. And I love how simple and natural. But fashion for me and hair, like high fashion is fantasy. But when you see girls on a tube, on a bus, in the street, they don't walk around looking like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Real people don't walk around like that. They, now it's got very OTT with the sort of Kardashian and the girls all have massive fake hair and fake whatever else, which I don't understand. But for me, I'm more the end of making real people feel fabulous. Yeah. And that's why my product is the price it is, because I want everyone to have a bit of that. I don't like the fakeness. I don't think it's achievable for real people.
Talking about real people, you said earlier that you worked for Face magazine, and that's kind of what that embodied, but you also did work for ID magazine.
Yeah.
Now, ID magazine obviously focuses on, the youth culture, and very much identity. So how would you say that James Brown fits into that?
Well, when I started, it's funny because the people in the magazine were almost older than me. So when I started, I was that. And I'm 46 now, but people think I've been around because they know my name. That when they meet me, they say, "Oh, So I still feel part of that organically as well.
You are.
I still feel part of that. I don't feel like I'm an old man that doesn't know what's going on. I get my inspiration from, and it's such a cliche to say, but I get my inspiration from kids in the street, what's going on now, not from fashion magazines. I can't, probably 8-10 years ago was the last time I don't buy magazines.
Really?
I don't look at them. I work and then I never see it again. It's not.
I think that's quite a lovely thing though. To actually
being
grab
around
it
the
in real
horses
life.
inspired me more than looking at a fashion. I just don't do that.
With the horses, you said that they went obviously with you from Ireland to New York, and am I right in saying that you divide your time between London and New York? So what is the difference, as in, what's the difference between the Brits and the Americans when it comes to hair?
Well, the Americans are just, like an American woman, in the major cities will have their hair, sometimes every day have their hair blow dried, have their nails done.
Every day?
They're just much more groomed, they're much more done, they're much more coiffed, they're much more Babe Paley, 50, almost 50. I always think of it as 50s, like they're just women in the 50s that always got done. English girls tend to love their hair on day 3. Like, they wash it day 1, day 3, they think, oh, it looks great today, just before they have to wash it again. Whereas American women want their hair squeaky, squeaky clean at all times, and they don't understand the worn-in thing at all. They want to be groomed, they want their nails immaculate, they want everything to look perfect all the time. Obviously, there's extremes on both sides of the Atlantic, and there's, now that everywhere's sort of the same. Like, when I started in fashion, I could tell sat at an airport, oh, they're from LA, they're from New York, they're from Paris, they're from...
You're that good.
Now you can't tell where anyone's from almost, because everybody is so aware and everyone's so clued up, and all the shops are everywhere, top shops everywhere, so everyone can buy the same stuff.
No, definitely.
And, Salon are now doing mostly vintage inspired clothes, and so everybody has got access to looking good very easily. Whereas back in the day, you used to have to crawl through charity shops that stank to find something that no one had, which that's my favourite thing to do ever, riding. But everyone, it's very hard to distinguish now. It's definitely on people under 25. They all kind of, you don't know where they're from.
And talking about American hair, it being all pristine, needed every day, you styled an American's hair recently by the name of Dakota Johnson for the How to Be Single premiere.
Yes.
Shall I tell you a secret about that premiere?
Tell me.
I was there.
I didn't see you there. On the pink sparkly carpet.
I know. That
was quite good, right?
I really like that, yeah. But I saw, Dakota in real life. I love what you did to her hair. And
Did you see the rain that came from every single angle, and the cold, and the wind?
And literally, like, typical Britain. Like, all you needed was fish and chips and Mary Poppins. Yeah. I remember seeing there was an umbrella, and Rebel Wilson, because she's, how she is, she was like, I can hold the fucking, umbrella myself. And I was like, yeah, go Rebel. But, okay, so... Am I right in saying that it wasn't just Dakota Johnson you did it for, the How to Be Single? You've been working with her quite a lot recently.
I worked with her quite a lot, I love her.
Yeah, how is she?
Amazing.
She seems really lovely.
Very kind person, very kind. And
I didn't realise how young she was either. Because when we were in the cinema and she came to present, I think Rebel said her age. Oh, she might have been joking, but I'm not sure. But yeah, she seems really nice. She's definitely, that girl from next door, except after when you've done her hair, obviously. But
I'm lucky enough for them to want to work with me, but I'm also lucky enough to be in a position where I don't have to deal with divas, bitches from hell. I work with nice people, otherwise I just won't do it.
That's quite good. Lucky. In regards to divas, how does the award season prove to be challenging?
How does the award season prove to be challenging?
What's it like, in other words?
It's high. It's exactly what you think it would be. It's high, intense, high drama, last minute. like I had someone, was doing someone recently and they pull on the dress and the whole dress literally fell apart.
No.
And then they were having a breakdown and I was like, there's got, like, of all the things in the world, we're in the middle of London and you haven't got a dress, like, and you're going to a premiere. So things happen, so you have to be every eventuality. And my job really, as a hairdresser, but also, because I tend to work with people that I like their sensibility stuff, I kind of get on with them. I help them out in all areas. Do you know what I mean? I'll help them not just do the hair, but I just help them. It's really hard to go out in front of.
Obviously, there's so many skills that you need.
Yeah. And women are objectified so much, and I love women.
Yeah,
and
me too.
And I just they get objectified so much, and they hit the red carpet, and every single nobody wants to be in the sort of circle of shame for something going wrong. So it's high pressure now, you know. They have like cameras now that just focus on your nails, and cameras that just focus on your shoes, and you know, like mental things like that, like hand cams. You put your manicure in to show what colour, you know, like mental things nowadays.
That's crazy.
Women have to go through a lot of shit now.
They really do. Bloody hell. So we're coming up to the final questions. Who is Dave Rudd?
Who is Dave Rudd? Dave Rudd is a very naughty boy. He's not the Messiah, he's a very naughty boy.
And who would you like to be receiving a Valentine's gift from this weekend?
Anyone.
Really?
Anyone. I'll take a card from anyone. I could take it from anyone.
I knew that would happen with the mic. I knew it. And I'm going to come on to just like last two topics now. Obviously, you don't drink anymore. So can I ask, like, what was the difference between working as a session stylist when you were drinking compared to now not drinking?
Well, it's very acceptable in fashion and in my industry to drink.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's very acceptable in society to drink. You have a glass of champagne if someone dies. You have a glass of champagne if someone's born. You have a glass of champagne if someone gets married. Glass of champagne if someone gets divorced. And just for me, it just doesn't suit me. You know, it's like it's taken me a long time, but it just doesn't suit me. I don't need anything to make me more up. I'm so up anyway. You know, so for me, it's just I found my balance in life. It's just better for me not to drink.
That's really lovely. You know, I do not drink either.
Oh.
I am 19 months sober.
Amazing.
Can
Congratulations.
I ask what your numbers are like?
My numbers are good.
Yeah?
They're up there, yeah. They're doing all right.
And the other thing that I wanted to say, obviously, like, you are homosexual.
Yeah.
And
I'm not practicing, though.
Not yet.
Hoping to.
Well, it's Valentine's coming up.
It's a Catholic guilt. I've got Catholic guilt.
Billy Connolly said that recently. He was like...
It's so true. The Catholic guilt thing is so true. I'm telling you.
But in regards to being homosexual, would you say, you know, that helps
It's so weird to hear the word homosexual.
Gay.
Are we in the 50s?
I'm going to say gay, sorry. You like the 50s, you said?
Yeah, are we in the 50s? Homosexual.
And being gay,
yeah.
Would you say that it helped you in your career? Because obviously we're going way back and you've always been gay. So would you say it helps you, or did you come up against, you know, any barriers, hurdles, that kind of thing?
You know what, this is going to be quite controversial, but I think in the fashion industry, this is going to sound mental, but this is just my experience, being gay has sometimes been a hindrance because photographers are normally straight. And photographers, if they can have a geezer who does hair, they'll much prefer to have a geezer who does hair than they will a gay man. They don't mind having a gay makeup artist for some reason, but they'd prefer a straight hairdresser. And if you think about it, there's Vidal Sassoon, John Frieda, all those very famous, Trevor Sorby, all those very, very famous hairdressers are straight men, because women love having their hair done. So by straight men, it's just, I don't know, it's like a flirty banter thing. And
that's interesting.
That's just what I feel.
Have you felt it's been like that since the start until now?
I didn't notice in the beginning, but I notice now more that it's like I notice now more. The girls don't seem to mind, but a lot of the photographers and directors and prefer a less flouncy gay hairdresser. They prefer less complication, as I call it. They don't want someone turning up in a big frilly jacket and being too... They just... Nowadays, when I started, there were characters, and there was Polly Mellon, there was real characters in fashion, Andre Leontelli, the models had character, like Kurno and Kate.
Yeah.
They were characters, whereas now it's much more bland, and it's much more... People haven't got time for characters. People just want to arrive at 9, get the job done, go home at 5. It's not arrive at 7 in the morning, work till 4 in the morning, and have fun all day. It's very professional now.
Yeah.
And I think the characters are few and far between now.
Kind of makes sense, like, you know, now it being really professional compared to, you know, back in the day, because now you feel it's professional,
it's
whereas
a business,
back in the day
it really
was more flowing.
It was always a business, but now you're very aware it's a business.
It's like there's an HR department now.
Yeah, now you're very, very aware, and you have a lot of things said before you even get to the job. Like now, occasionally I will get emails, which is a new thing for when I started. You'd get before you turn up on the job, and you'd look at the clothes, and you'd possibly, if you were lucky, see a celebrity or a model in the clothes, and you'd say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," and everyone would say, "Oh, that sounds great." Now you might have someone from an office in New York you've never ever met, who has never been on a shoot, sending you what they want you to do with the hair, and you're like, "Well, first of all, the girl's got long blonde hair. You've sent me pictures of short, dark hair." Like there's a whole disconnect now, and it's such a... People have to fulfil their... And there never used to be such a thing as art directors on shoots. That's a whole new phenomenon. Yeah. Like now you have an art director who says to you... I'll give you an example. I went to work the other day, and an art director... He opened the door and he said to me, "Can you hurry up because the daylight's going on?" I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Morning, I'm to change." I didn't know because that would be considered unprofessional. I thought that in my head, but then he started telling me how he wanted the hair, and it was on quite a famous actress who I know really well.
Yeah,
and we were both like, what's he
like
talking about?
Yeah.
But then he had a whole big mood board, and funnily enough, 90% of the pictures on the mood board were my pictures that I've been involved in. So I waited till the end of the day, and I pulled the mood board off, and I went over to him and I said, "Was this your inspiration for today?" "Right, well, I did that one in this year. This one was shot there. This one was shot there," and his face. But that's what you're dealing with now. Everyone has their say almost in my job. Like, I know what I'm doing. I've done this with my fucking eyes closed. I've done it on a boat without electricity. I've done it in Africa in a mud hut without at 3 in the morning in the dark with put extensions in. I know what I'm doing. But now so many people
too many cooks
have too many cooks.
That's exactly it.
Exactly it.
James Brown, thank you so much for joining me
for
the first episode of By the Fire with Dave Rudd. You've been an absolute...
By the fire.
I know. And what we're going to do, we're going to end it now, because we're by a fire. Look what I've got here. Ooh,
sugar.
Marshmallows. So, I'm going to give you a fork there.
Am I having a pink or white?
I was going to go for
pink,
a white.
Make the boys wink.
There we go. And thank you all at home for joining me for By the Fire with Dave Rudd. I've been Dave Rudd. That's a fire. This is James Brown. Marshmallows. Here we go.
I can't reach.
I can't reach either. Oh, crikey. All good?
Yeah, very good.
I'm not eating that